I'm not used to using elevator shoes like this, but I am really very thankful that you could be here. I'm Mike Simpson, president of the International Space University, which means that at many different places around the world, at many different times of the year, I get this particular privilege of meeting with the ISU family, the faculty, the trustees, the alumni, often current students who are present to present their work, to be able to share with them both their excitement about the future and the present of the space sector, but also to share with them some of the excitement of an institution that is very similar to the one you remember, and yet every day reinventing itself. It's very similar to the one you remember because if you walk through the halls of ISU and talk with the master's students, you're going to find that it is as nationally diverse as ever, that the disciplines, if anything, are even more widely diverse than they have been in the past, that the cultural diversity, even within nationalities, is growing, that the quality of this class is every bit as good as what you remember having had the chance to interact with during the days when you were an ISU student. But it does reinvent itself. And this last summer, in some ways, was the most amazing period of physical reinvention at ISU since the opening of our new building. Because for those of you who have seen the new building and know how we very carefully focused on the teaching mission first and dealt with these fairly large, fairly empty laboratory spaces, now the laboratory spaces themselves are beginning to fill in. This last summer, one of the best concurrent design facilities in Europe was installed at ISU with the help of ESA and STEC. A Genso satellite ground station was installed at ISU that will not only give our students the chance to experience that important part of the modern space business, which is satellite control and applications, ground station applications, but will further cement our partnership with the University of Stuttgart, with the University of Graz, and with the University Louis Pasteur in France, as we begin to work on joint projects together that will be made possible when Stuttgart's academic Earth observation satellite is launched, hopefully within the next 2 years. Before too long, I think you will be seeing citations to ISU's work and the work of this consortium in river management through space observation. And I think, we can be excited that we are beginning to get into fields of this kind. A 2.3-meter radio telescope is now available at ISU. And for those of you who worked with Johannes Kupfen and that magnificently engineered long wire antenna that enabled us to see not all that distant sources in space, now with a 2.3-meter dish, we are really moving forward to be able to show people this element of space activity. Lastly, with the help of the Excalibur Almaz company, we will be establishing this year a personal spaceflight laboratory that will enable our students to be looking very closely at issues of habitability and possibility as we begin to think about how more and more private citizens, personal customers, personal explorers can begin to go where up to this point mostly government-sponsored explorers have been able to go. Wherever this industry goes in the short term, I think we all know it's going big places in the long term, and it's great to know that your university is in on the ground floor. We've just completed a successful SSP in Barcelona, an interesting SSP in many ways when you think about what it says about the relationship between ISU and its alumni. There were a lot of difficult experiences and difficult problems that led us that led us to need to be in Barcelona this year. We had a large alumni population in Barcelona. When they got the word relatively late in the planning cycle that we were headed for Barcelona, these people turned into the wind and made good things happen. If we could make a solar sail work as well as Barcelona worked, we'd make Lou Friedman a very happy person. The reality is, a big reason why that worked was that not only did we have an extraordinarily hard-working staff, we had an increasingly involved alumni population. ISU is known not only for the network that it develops, for guaranteeing that no one gets sufficient sleep, for working people to the limits of their tolerance, for understanding that, yes, if you had been prisoners of war, we would have violated the Geneva Convention. But also it's known because in addition to this network, and the network of 2,700 other graduates and several hundred faculty and former staff around the world, there is perhaps the more important network, the network that you build among people who've not yet known ISU, the people who may eventually be our students, the people who may never be our students, but who are tied into the teams we all have learned are essential to the future of this space sector because you have played an important role in knowing that teams are important, that synergy is important, that disciplines have to not just talk at each other, they have to hear each other, and you have built programs based on that kind of solid foundation.